back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
And think about life, think about living, think about love, sharing and giving. Drop this doomsday attitude and let the spirit flow. Be the one.
Well, you gotta like that theme. Drop that doomsday attitude and let the spirits flow. A little Dolly Parton music here on this third day of January 2015. It's Boomer Life on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox. In studio with me, a couple of folks from Shannon Oaks. Jillian Fullerton is the sales and marketing manager with Baptist Housing in BC, which includes Shannon Oaks, not only Vancouver, but also Oak Bay. And also in studio with us is Olive Farah. Olive is a longtime resident of Shannon Oaks in East Vancouver on Waverly Avenue. All of you have been very kind and very generous sharing your story with us. And I wonder, because you told us some of the stuff that happened over the last couple of weeks over the holiday season with your Christmas and the dinners and the New Year's Eve celebrations and all of that. I wonder if you observe when you're, because this is your home, not everyone participates equally. That's fine. That's their choice. And I was asking you about how a person like my mom, who's not the most extroverted human on the planet, how she would fit into that. You said fine, because there's no one's going to force you to do anything you don't want to do.
That's right. You do what you want to do when you want to do it, if you want to do it.
I'm curious, though, because we talked about over the holidays and how you with your 15 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren, no shortage of family in your life. And, of course, lots of them are local. So you can pop out to somebody's house for dinner pretty much anytime you want.
That's right.
I'm wondering, though, about some of your fellow residents at Shannon Oaks, those people who don't have family members close by, who spent the holiday season essentially alone, minus, of course, with the exception of the company of each other. What did you observe watching those people go through a rather quiet holiday, particularly compared to a family-centric holiday like yours?
I just feel so blessed that I have family, because my life is just so different. I couldn't imagine them not taking part, me not taking part in anything.
Right.
You know, it fills my day.
And what about family members, Jillian, who are in other parts of the country and who may send an email or a Christmas card, but who can't get to East Vancouver to celebrate Christmas or New Year's?
They can't get.
Now you've had some lovely parties over the past couple of weeks.
Yes.
But tell us about what happens. Do folks get? They must be feeling a little isolated, despite the fact that they're in a lovely surroundings.
Yes, they can. It's a very festive environment over the Christmas and New Year's period.
Sure is.
It's all full of life and lots of things happening. I think what the important thing here is choice. You know, we will introduce them to a lot of options that they can choose from, what they can do. If they want to be physically fit, if they want to be intellectually stimulated, if they, want to be entertained, if they love to read, if they want to do the computer, all of that is there. And we're there to assist and help them do that. But in the end, if a resident just wants to observe, then he or she can just observe.
Sure.
But they do get social activities in that dinner, breakfast, and lunch are so important because they engage with people. So that's 3 times during the day they can engage. And then there's coffee and muffins at 10 o'clock coffee hour. And then in the afternoon there's tea and muffins. And you find a lot of the quieter residents will slip in for that. And maybe they just want to observe people. I mean, if you were shy when you were 10 years old, and you were shy when you're 40 years old, and when you're 80 years old, you're not going to all of a sudden flower into
doesn't change its spots, does it?
And so we respect the differences in our residents.
Sure.
But we want to be there to support them. We want to be there to encourage them and to offer them choices if they're there.
Yeah, there's another thing too, Jillian. We have Shannon Oaks has a bus that takes we make trips to Brentwood, Champlain Mall, Oak Ridge. They take us for Stanley Park, North Vancouver, all over.
Christmas lights.
Went out to Potter's, Christmas shopping. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, there's so much.
There is all that they can do. But if they are reticent, if they are more withdrawn, then that's who they are.
Right.
It depends on their health.
Yes.
really.
I suppose that's a big part of it too, isn't it, Olive?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you've said a few times you're hale and hearty and doing just fine, hitting on all
Trying
cylinders.
to,
But you've mentioned a few times that some of your fellow residents with whom you have long conversations have stated quite bluntly, "Gosh, I just wish I'd come here earlier so I could
That's
have
right.
even more fun."
That's right.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say I can't think of a resident who has not said that to me.
Right.
They come up just delighted. I wish I had moved sooner. I
Right.
wish I had moved sooner.
So and I suppose everyone is an individual case, Jillian, but you've been at this for quite some time now. What would an ideal age be to consider moving into a seniors retirement community as opposed to waiting far too long until it was almost no fun left to be had? So what would an ideal age be?
Ideal age depends on that person
course.
and their health. Don't wait until your health is in jeopardy.
Right.
Then you can't enjoy it. My mother, when she moved into retirement community, was just 81 years old. I'm going to think back. 81 years old. She should have moved in sooner.
Right.
She really should have. She would have flowered. She would have been another Olive.
It all depends on your financial situation too.
Of course.
Oh,
But
yes.
if you've owned a home,
Yes.
the market the way it is, you've got
Yes.
enough money there for retirement. I would say.
Well, that's true.
I would say early 70s is
Yeah.
a good time
Yeah.
to move into
Yeah.
a place like Shannon Oaks.
Okay. Now, when you and your husband, you moved in together at the time.
Yes, we did.
And you moved partly because his health was beginning to fail.
That's right.
And what sort of because we've talked, Jillian and I have talked in the past, Olive, about the types of care that are included in these retirement communities. And as we boomers struggle to learn more and more about them so we can be more helpful to our parents, we have to learn these terms. For example, you were fine, but your husband's health was beginning to deteriorate,
Right.
your word. So
Right.
did you move into independent living and your husband moved into some kind of enhanced care? How did that work?
Well, that was just 2 years ago, so I looked after him the last 2 years of his life there. And then we had to put him into a care home.
Oh, I see.
In the last 2 years ago, you had to put him into a
Yeah.
care home. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But for 6 years, he was in Shannon Oaks.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now Shannon Oaks, Jillian, is an independent living retirement community.
That's correct.
Which means, again, for the uninitiated, pretty much what it says. You're independent. You're in charge of your life, and off you go.
Yes, but I'm just looking at one person today who is in hospital right now. And her family wants her, and she wants to move into Shannon Oaks, independent living.
Okay.
But she will need some help when she comes back from hospital.
Okay.
She'll need some initial help, maybe bathing or dressing.
And I gather by the tone of your voice that this woman was living independently in another location.
That's correct.
And the only reason she's contemplating Shannon Oaks or seniors retirement living is because of health issues.
She fell.
Oh man, a fall.
She fell.
Okay, so again, this is the poorest possible
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
I mean, okay, it's fine that, and it's good that
She's in an emergency
she's
now.
able to move in
Yeah.
and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it's not the best circumstances to
No.
move in either.
No, no.
Okay.
No. And
She doesn't have to come down for meals even. She
If
can
when
have
she's-
a tray sent up to her.
If she's coming home from hospital.
Sure,
Yes.
of course.
And if you're not well, you please have a tray because we don't want sick people in the dining room.
Right.
Okay,
So
so
we'll send a tray.
next to independent living is something called assisted living.
Yes.
And that is
When you need help bathing, dressing with your medications, things like that. And that's
Okay.
Clarendon Court.
okay.
Right next door, under the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's a separate building, but they get the same kind of services. They get their meals and things like that provided by Baptist Housing.
Okay.
And
So there are separate dining rooms for Clarendon
yes,
Court and for
that's
Shannon
right.
Oaks? Okay.
That's right. And there's nurses there. There's our head person is a nurse, and you have care aides who will help with all of that. So
All right.
that's different. They are less independent.
Right.
They are more frail, shall I say?
Okay, and then there is a third level of retirement community living, and that's called what?
Residential care or complex care.
Okay,
And that is when it's more of a hospital setting, I would say, where
Okay.
you need maybe a two-person lift to get into the washroom.
Mhm.
You can't, you are really, you need in assisted living, you have 2 prescribed services. Once you need more than 3, and they bundle those services.
Okay.
Once you are officially should go into residential or complex care.
Okay.
So it's a higher level of care. You can do less and less for yourself.
Okay. Now, what is available at Shannon Oaks? Is it all just independent living, or is there some assisted care as well?
Assisted care is next door at Clarendon Court,
okay.
under the same roof.
Right.
You can get a care, you can get a care aide coming in and helping you as well at Shannon Oaks.
Okay.
So you can do that up to a degree. When it becomes too much, it's too heavy, then we would suggest you apply to Clarendon Court.
Okay. Now, there isn't that third level of complex care at Shannon Oaks.
No,
is
there's
there?
not.
But Baptist Housing does operate some properties in
Yes.
British Columbia, and I know you've got one called a Campus of Care. Is that the interior?
Yes, we have a number of campuses of care in the interior. Yes,
And
we
that's
do.
where you offer all 3 types
That's
on
right.
the same piece of
That's
real
right.
estate.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's
If I
in the
could just say
Okanagan.
one thing here, that Shannon Oaks is a faith-based, and the care, it's not care as such, looking after a sick person. It's if you're not able to go down for meals, they telephone to see if you're all right. That's
It's
the
a compassion.
faith-based. Yeah,
It's the compassion that is in there. I mean,
that's
as I've told
that's
you.
what impressed me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me take a quick break here, and we'll talk more about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we're talking about Shannon Oaks, which is Baptist Housing,
Yes.
a part of Baptist Housing, one of many 16 or more communities around BC. Shannon Oaks, Vancouver, and Shannon Oaks, Oak Bay. The newest Baptist Housing property is The Heights at Mountain View in Saanich, which is just brand spanking new.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And
Absolutely
how new
beautiful.
is Shannon Oaks and Oak Bay? Within just a few months as well, isn't it?
Oh no, Shannon Oaks Oak Bay was probably built. It was built
2
after.
years ago,
Oh, okay.
maybe 2
All right.
years ago.
No, more than that.
Is it?
I'm getting caught up in
Yeah.
in the Heights at Mountain View recent stuff.
The Heights at Mountain View were just opened in November of 2014.
Okay.
So just not even two months ago.
Therein lies my confusion.
It's beautiful. It's got a dementia unit that is absolutely state of the art.
You're listening to Boomer Life. We're talking retirement living here with Jillian Fullerton and Olive Vera from Shannon Oaks Baptist Housing in Vancouver. And we'll be back with lots more right after this.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIAL 650.